Mm, we're back. Well. Kicking it live on Donald Kent Arts. What's shaking, fam? What say you? What news have you? This page is not actually finished, but I really want to work on some of the inking, so sue me. Alrighty. Let's zoom in a bit. There you go. It's a little nicer for you. So I did send out a link to friends in my friend groups to join me tonight for a little hangout session live here with us. And we'll see who can make it. It's very impromptu. What's frustrating though is that I get a lot of friends that see the invite like the next day or something, and they're like, I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I didn't know. I didn't see this until now. And that's kind of a bummer. But there'll be more shows, so don't worry. I really, well, we'll see how it goes. I might get some guests popping in or not. We'll see. Hey, Nevaeh is here. Hi, what are you drawing? Well, I'll give you a little show, Nevaeh. Thank you for joining the show tonight. Oops. And I'll give you a peek at the story here. Angel. Welcome, Angel. Nice to have you both with me tonight. Welcome to Donald Kent Art. I do all kinds of funky dunky stuff. I am a fine artist, graphic artist, comic book artist. I lived in Asia for 5 years, and I do, I guess you could say, Asian traditional painting. Studied Buddhism and Kung Fu over there for many years. Yeah, a lot of stories to tell. So this right here is a comic book that I wrote and illustrating now. He's called Militia Man. And like if you could combine Captain America with Superman, that's Militia Man. And as he fights a demonic cult that has a New World Order agenda to destroy the freedoms of mankind. So we need a new hero such as Militia Man. So, but I'm a lot more than that. Here's my book. You can get. I'm not going to turn this into a infomercial, but I'll give you a peek at my book, which is you can get that through the link. Here's the actual. There's some Militia Man art that you can kind of see. I'll zoom in a touch on that. It gives you a little flavor about the theme of the story. It's pretty interesting. This story really is about the transformation of this character. This character is meant to represent the kind of like the average patriot circa 2020 sorry 2016, and then he goes through some transformations, realizing how our governments are infiltrated and sold out And there's a commercial, so we turn that down. And that, you know, there's going to have to be some reckoning for these traders. So, with a name like Militiaman, you can imagine, it's kind of putting the power back in the people's hands, that kind of thing. And these are just samples of other comics that I've worked on. Yeah, I'm just so happy that you guys are here. It's cool. I've been getting a lot of new visitors, and I'm just curious, where did you see the link for this show? Was it on Instagram, YouTube? Uh, what social media did you see this on? That would be helpful for me. Can learn a little bit about how the algorithms are working. Again, there's some more comic stuff here. I don't just do comics, though. I do fine art, and I'll give you a little. There's some caricature portraits that I did. Friedrich Nietzsche. YouTube. Okay. This right here is, I forget the actor's name off the top of my head. Um, this is from The Big Lebowski. What is his name? Anyway, he's a very famous actor, but this just gives you an idea that, like, I don't just do comics, that I can also do like very realistic work. Hey, Tori. Tori's here. Awesome sauce. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we're just having a look at my book, Imperium Calling: The Art and Poetry of Donald Kent. This is some comic stuff. So I'm going to do some live art for you. And if you guys have any questions, are you guys into the arts? Do you draw, illustrate, anything of that nature, or just enjoy? So I've been. If you look around my channel, you'll see that I've had a lot of various shows that I've produced over the years. I took a break for quite a while, and then I'm back, and I'm mostly focused on working on comic book production. This particular piece is an original story, but I do get paid as a freelancer to do other people's comics. Nevea says, "Yeah, I'm into art. Good stuff. What kind of art do you do, Nevea?" I don't. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. Um, but yeah, and so I've got something like 2,600 followers on YouTube, and then more on other social media. So I'm known for like a lot of those other shows and that other content, but kind of rebranding myself more as a artist illustrator for now anyway, until I get some regular shows going again. I've interviewed like people that have been on Fox News, and you know fairly high profile people. Um, and like if you look around this YouTube, you'll see those. You are pronouncing my name right. Awesome. Very, very good. Are you Nevea is a beautiful name. I'm curious what country are you from? What's your ethnicity? Being a guy that lived in Asia for 5 years, I'm really interested in different cultures. Um, I draw like anime and random stuff. Okay, cool. Das ist gut. So, excuse me. And well, in your case, you might like to look around and see some of my videos teaching how to draw and ink, etc. Pardon me. I was an art teacher for many years, and so that could be useful to you. Um, Curious question for you, actually, for all of you, if you guys are into manga, anime, that kind of Japanese style. Um, what is it about that artwork that you like? What is it about those comics that you like? And what I'm trying to do is distinguish the difference between Japanese style comics and American style, and like, what is it that people are drawn to? what are they attracted to in the Japanese comics? So I lived in Japan, and maybe I could tell you some stories about that. That was through college some years ago when I was in college. I was a fine art major, but I wanted to study Buddhism. And I discovered that my college had an exchange program with a college in Osaka, Japan. And so I signed up, and what do you know? I spent a year in Japan. So that was incredible. One of the most amazing experiences of my life. Um, the little details and the characters. Okay. Um, do you like American comics? I'm just curious. Or what would you say is the difference between American comics and anime manga style? Mm, let's see. So, you guys want to hear my experiences in Japan? Um, it's funny because since I lived there, most people they're like, "Oh, you must love manga," and I'm like, "Well, I'm more, I grew up with American comics, and so that's where my heart is." I respect it. That there's some crazy, phenomenal artwork and cool stuff there, but the kind of art that I was studying in Japan was traditional painting. It's a kind of it's called sumie, and it's done with like a horsehair brush and black ink. It's a type of watercolor painting. Um, what do we have in the chat here? Yes. So what did you say I should draw? What mm, I was saying that I would recommend looking through my YouTube for videos on how to draw, and then you can get some drawing lessons, just from watching that. So, I was how old was I when I went to Japan? I think I was about 19. Um, and to be real honest with you, my dad had passed away the year before that, so I was quite, it was a bad time for me. And part of my interest in learning Zen was to help me deal with the grieving, and it was profound. It was very, very, very helpful, but also opened up a gigantic world of wisdom and experience. So I took some classes in Japanese language before I left. You got to get some basics, right? Um, I find I actually studied Chinese as well, and I speak basic Chinese, but I've forgotten almost all of my Japanese. My cousin is going to Japan, and I'm sorry for that. Thank you for your condolences. I'm sure Japan today is different from when I went when I was 19, only in the sense that there's probably many, many more sort of foreigners, gaikokujin, Americans, British, what have you. Um, so I don't know quite what it's like in that regard, but I'd say by now it's very, very comfortable for like Americans to go travel and live there even. Um, However, it's a very, very very alien culture. It's literally the opposite of pretty much everything that we know, do, think, and feel. Um, and when I say that, I don't mean that as like a criticism. Rather, that if you're gonna go, then you should know what you're getting into. And there's like what you see on the internet versus day-to-day life, that that's quite different. So if you're just going for fun, like my nephew and his fiance went for a honeymoon, like it's because they both love Japanese culture and all that fun stuff. They bought all kinds of fun things over there and had like a fabulous honeymoon. um but what else? I'm all over the place here. So I went as a student, and it's an exchange program, so you go through your college. There's a lot of paperwork, visa, this and that, yada yada. And then there's the whole, the flight. It's insanely long flight to get to the other side of the planet. Um, and unfortunately, I had a mix up with my luggage in Korea, and my luggage went ahead of me. But since I had never flown anywhere, I was like a babe in the woods. I didn't know, it flipped me out. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I get there, uh, you know, I join all the other students at the university. We go through orientation, and literally every single thing about life is just so cool and so amazing because you're looking at like, oh my god, I'm in Japan. This is flipping me out. This is so cool. It's insane. Just like going to a corner store is a cultural experience. It's so amazing. Um, I'm a huge fan of traditional culture, so I would go to a lot of the temples. I did a lot of that. Not the luggage. Yeah, yeah, I know. It was stressful. I spent a night in Seoul. Whatever since there was a screw up, whatever. They gave me like a free hotel room, and I spent the night there. Blah blah blah, whatever. But so what was the deal? So yeah, I get there, and then there's another aspect of it. So it's not just American students. There were students from all over the world. And, France, Latvia, England, Ireland, Philippines, Indonesia, um, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was really profound in the sense that, like, we're all kind of mixed together as, you know, as foreign students, And so that was really exciting. That had its own kind of quality. I got to be friends with people from different countries. Um, of course, I'm there to experience Japanese culture, but living and going to school with people from all over the world was such a cool experience. So you get placed with homestay families, and I had a real nice family. They didn't speak English, ha, but like the main like the brother that was the guy that hooked up this whole thing. His girlfriend spoke fluent English, so she was over at the house a lot. Um, the idea about this program is that Americans are there mostly to learn Japanese, and frankly, that's not why I was there. I wanted to learn painting and Buddhism and these things. I studied Japanese. It was required. You need it, but it was just never really like part of the big picture for me. I wasn't trying to get like a corporate job or something like that. My father is making me go to school even though I have a cold. Oh, bummer. Um, anyway, I hope you feel better. You've got to push the vitamin C and all of those fun things, you know. But what else? What else? So the homestay family was super excited, and I'll tell you, when I got there at that time in my life, I never had sushi. And I always thought, like, if I'm going to Japan, at some point I'm going to have to eat sushi. And at that time, like right now, sushi is my favorite food. But at the time, it's raw fish. Ooh, this is kind of the typical American mentality about that topic. And so, I get in there, I'm settling in with my homestay family, and they want to have like a party for me, like, welcome to Japan, and we're so happy to have you. And they buy an enormous sushi spread with like the finest sushi. Just must have spent a lot of money on this. And I'm like, okay, I'm eating sushi now. And I didn't even know how to use chopsticks. So they had to teach me. That was kind of funny. Um, And, so then there you go. Then I had to take the train to, in the city of Osaka. It's an enormous city. And I had to learn how to take the train to school every day. And that was kind of the tough part of it because it was like an hour and a half commute to and just one way, you know. So spent a lot of time on those darn trains, but you're reading and studying and stuff, and even so, it's still like, wow, man, I'm in Japan. This is crazy, So it's not like so terrible or whatever. Yeah, listen to your headphones or this or that. So what else can I tell you? So then you're in class, you're learning Japanese, the written system, the spoken system. Um, and then again, I was taking those courses in art. I took an art history class where it was like an independent study. And so I was able to work with the professor there to do a special report on a specific temple. And my goal again was to study Buddhism. So there's a place in, I believe it's in Kyoto. It's called Sanjusan Gendo, and that's called the thousand armed uh, bodhisattva. And a bodhisattva is kind of like an angelic Buddha, and it's got this insane sculpture with like 1,000 arms on it. It's gorgeous. Their writing is weird. Like all I see are lines. Well, it's so there's three alphabets in the Japanese language. There's kanji, which comes from China, and then there's hiragana, which is a phonetic. It's like an ABC alphabet, Japanese alphabet. Then there's something called katakana, which is a special alphabet exclusively for foreign words. So the Japanese use a lot of English loan words or borrow loan words in their vocabulary just because they're, exposed to a lot of Western culture. But by using katakana alphabet, those words will never become part of the Japanese language. They will always remain identified as foreign words, which I think is extremely cool because it's a way of keeping their language pure. Does that make sense? What do you guys think about that? You know? And so there was just so many different types of experiences. The Japanese are extremely gracious and friendly people. Um, oh man, wow, there's so many different experiences. Mm, oh yeah, what three? Yeah, three. Yeah. So, like for me though, the grammar, Japanese grammar is like it's like a Rubik's cube. I'm like, where does this particle go, and how do I conjugate this? And like it was just not fun. I didn't jive with it. Chinese, on the other hand, is very intuitive to me, and the way the language is structured, you can kind of stumble through it, and people will still understand you, and they'll still get your meaning. So that's pretty cool. You can go a long way on that. And years later, I moved to Taiwan. Pardon me. I'm trying to get the music back on here. Hold on a sec. Oh, it's a little ambient house music for flavor. Really, only there for Tokyo, like nothing else. So where I traveled a good bit. I went to Hiroshima. That, of course, was pretty wild. It was I had kind of like a winter vacation, and one of the American girls asked me if I'd go with her for like a adventure trip down to Hiroshima to check that out. It's obviously very historic, very special place. Um, really lucky, yeah. And I thought it was going to be kind of morbid or whatever, but it actually was. not. I mean, in this, I mean, the museum itself is very, very morbid, because you can imagine. But the people are just delightful. They're just good folks. They are just friendly everywhere you go. There's also a really, really amazing art museum in Hiroshima that I would imagine most Westerners don't even think of just because they're not there for the art museum. But that was extraordinary. There's a sculptor Isamu Noguchi who he's like half white, half Japanese, and he lived in well, he was kind of popular, or let's just say he worked in, say, like the 50s and 60s, and he combined like American abstract expressionism with traditional Japanese art in sculpture, though, and it's like wow, like he's kind of like a hero to me in terms of like that period of my art development, because I was kind of merging Eastern and Western ideas and art techniques, etc. In fact, I could show you a little sample of that, what I'm just talking about in my book. And you gotta let me find the page here. Hold on. Well, this is more. This one right here is more. I gotta back out of this a bit. This is more using like traditional um, Asian style art, if you will, if that makes sense. Um, so that's a thing. It's quite. It's very fluid. But again, I'm using like Western paints on like vellum and stuff, and there's just something unique about it. Okay, here, well, both of these. This is using traditional Chinese watercolor brushes, etc. But with my own kind of themes. And then here's an oil painting that is done in a kind of a more traditional, um, like you're not supposed to say Oriental art, Asian art, I guess. It's based on like the Chinese formula for landscape painting. Um, Only it's oil on canvas. So I have the richness of the oil paints, the way that they blend, but yet I'm using the compositional structure of Chinese landscape. But then I think sort of like the use of the heavy lights and darks are found in both Eastern and Western art. Um, so yeah, this is something. Let's see. Bertie, you are very good at this. Oh, thank you. Well, golly gee. Okay, so I'm going to focus a little bit, listen to some tunes, and let's see what happens. Maybe sometimes I like to switch it up a little bit, so I'll move to another part of the page. Let's see if I can get this centered a little bit better. All right, give me a second. Oh, there it is. Good evening, gang squad XVX. Nice to have you. Thanks for joining us. How you doing this fine evening? Oh, good evening. Oh, yes, it's evening where you are. Okay. I actually have a lot of international friends that kind of tune in from different countries, which is kind of cool. Mostly Europe. That's on my bucket list is Europe. I've been to Asia, so I have a lot of friends in Europe. So the thing I joke about, I always say, like, I'm afraid if I go, I won't come back, you know? Um, which might not be a bad thing. I don't know. A lot of different factors in life, you know, a lot of things keeping you here, taking you there. Um, but like, I don't really have the travel bug. I'm not, for me, it's not like a tourism thing, you know? It's more about like, let's live here for a while. Let's like dig in, you know, and feel it, you know, get into the language and develop relationships with people, you know. um yeah. How old am I? uh, Based on the sound of my voice, how old do you think I am? That'll be an interesting experiment. I find that the people that ask me how old I am the most tend to be in their 20s. So I'm guessing you probably maybe in your 20s. But, you know, my answer to that, frankly, is that I have a young spirit and an old soul. So there you go. 29. Oh, okay. You're almost at the big 3-0. I spy 71. It's funny. I work with a dude who's, I don't know, he's in his 70s, like not late 70s, but, and he is as fit as a 30-year-old. Like, I'm like, God, how do you do it? Like, I gotta be, whatever it is you're doing, I got to do that, you know, so that when I'm 70, I'm kicking butt like you are, you know. He's a hardworking guy. He's like country living, you know, worked on a farm for years and does a lot of like manual labor type stuff. Guess how old I am. Well, didn't you just say 29? Oh, no, no, you're guessing I'm 29. I'm guessing, I don't know, you strike me as kind of maybe even high school. Am I close? I'll be honest with you, when I start these videos, I set them to for adults, whatever the setting is, you know. There's a setting, you know, with YouTube, and I always make sure that it's not for kids, you know, because there was a while where I would just have like kids coming on, and I'm like, no, just because like I talk a lot of politics, I swear a lot, you know. It's not like it's a, you know, like a really inappropriate or whatever, but it's just not appropriate for kids, though, you know. But how old are you? No, you're not in your teens. Okay. Are you 25? How did I do? So my point just being that, like, you know, if someone, a teenager, comes to the show, I'm not gonna kick them off or whatever, but I probably would mind my language or my topics a little bit more. That's why I set it for adults so that we can just, you know, talk freely. You know, younger than 25. I'm going for 21. Did I hit the jackpot? Me, child? Wait a second. Wait a second. You're younger than a teenager. Is that what you're telling me? Huh. Apparently, YouTube does not work then in that case. Um, well, golly gee. What do you know? Yes. Oh my gosh. Good Lord. So, oh, because you were talking about your dad's making you go to school or something but you got a cold or whatever. Are you taking any cold medicine, anything like that? I'm not sure where you live, but where I live, everybody seems to have like a little funky cough or something going on. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. Hold on here. I'm gonna take that out. Looks kind of freaky, but I want to have a little more control over how that looks. Um, I'm almost a teenager. All right. It's like when we were kids, we wouldn't say I'm I'm 10. We'd say I'm 10 and a half. Um, so I used to teach middle school, and I taught what do you call it? After school programs. Um, so I have a lot of experience with kids your age, and I would teach them how to draw comics. I actually taught them kung fu. It was one of the cool things that I offered, and they loved that. It was a lot of fun. And I'd have like comic book drawing contests, and my teaching style is kind of like you know using games and stuff like that. Make it more enjoyable. All right, funky donkey. Um, I think since it's what time is it? Yeah, I got to work tomorrow, so I was just on for a little short stream here. I would say, let's see, I'm 11, and on March 23rd I'll be 12. Well, happy birthday to you in advance. Okay. Um, I wish you well. Work on your drawing. I don't think my YouTube channel is really for you. It's mostly adult. Not, I mean, it's like politics and culture and history and philosophy. So maybe in a few years that might be something cool that you'd like, but at the moment, maybe not. Anyway, but I will thank you guys for popping in and enjoying the show and hanging out. Let me tell some stories about my life in Japan. Um, but this old boy's got to get to work tomorrow, so I'm going to wrap it up and wish you guys a wonderful evening. Stay cool and keep on rocking in the free world.